Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a part of mine and Jessica from the Waldock Way's monthly open collaboration called Homeschool Show and Tell. Every single month, we invite homeschoolers on YouTube to share on a topic that we've chosen and add to the playlist. So that playlist link will be down below. Today's video is all about showing us your homeschool space. So there's going to be tons of videos, tons of inspiration, a mid-year homeschool room refresh or homeschool room tours or realistic looks at where people homeschool. Since I've done a homeschool room tour just a few months ago, as well as a game and storage and organizational video a couple of months ago, I decided in today's video that I would give you a detailed tour of our homeschool library shelves, because every time I do a book haul, that's like the number one question. How do you organize your books? How do you store your books? So I thought that today I would give you an overview of our home library, if you will. So our homeschool room, like I said, looks just the same as it did in that video. So I will link that up in the corner as well as that organizational video so you can get a look at some of my other spaces in my house if you're interested in that. So today I'm gonna go ahead and give you a shelf by shelf tour of our home library. I love the way it looks in the evening with the lighting that we chose last year. So I'm gonna give you a tour of our homeschool room in the evening. Okay, so I am going to do this shelf tour in the evening because I just love all of the Edison lighting we have in this room and the amber lighting. And so I just feel like it gives our little home library its true time to shine. So I'm gonna start, well, I'll start over here. So we have this chair that has floated around the house for a while, and I feel like it's found its purpose here in this room. I've always wanted to have like a cozy reading corner, and the funny thing is we have tried this corner many times in many different ways, but I do feel like this has brought some life to this little corner of the room. And we actually have a sliding door that we rarely use right next to it that leads out to the pool. We usually use the other sliding door on the other side of the house to go out to the pool. So it really is just like a really nice window in this room that brings in a ton of light in the morning. And I'll put a clip in here of how pretty it looks when the sun's coming through in the morning. So this is a perfect little chair to do Bible time or just some quiet reading time in the morning when the sun is coming in from that direction. Also, you may notice that these pillows and this little cozy throw that I have over it right now, that comes from Tony at our Thrifty Homeschool. She sent it to me in a gift exchange. And then one more thing I will mention before I get on with the tour. This picture has to be raised. I just haven't asked John to do it yet. And then I also have some Audubon prints that, if you can tell over here, yeah, we shifted the shelves over when we added the chair a couple of weeks ago. So John just has to hang those up there. So they haven't been hung yet. So when the picture gets raised and those prints get hung, then it'll raise the room a little bit because we do have like lower ceilings in this room. Okay, all of that out of the way, I'm now gonna start with all of the shelves and go shelf by shelf and show you how I currently have it arranged. I'm sure I said it in the intro, but we do move books around the house regularly. All of the books that I think are really pretty, like I have Spurgeon sermons, I have all of my books from Lamplighters Publishing, I have all of the YWAM books. They just require an entire shelf. All of those books are in another room, and I'll throw some clips in on top of this as well, just so you can see. We have books all over the house. We also have a nice basket in the kids' bathroom that I cycle books through, and then they keep all of their curriculum in some bins in our storage room and the books that they're currently reading aloud and things like that. Down here I have books on, I'll either keep seasonal books next to this chair, or I'll keep books if we're doing a unit study. And right now we are doing the civil rights movement. So I have all of the books that we're either reading aloud, which is Watson's Go to Birmingham right now. And then next is gonna be Hidden Figures, because we also just we're doing some space stuff as well. And if it's like Valentine's Day, then I'll put some Valentine's Day books in there and so forth and so on, just to make it, easily accessible for the kids. And I also do love to pull books and like shop my shelves for a good unit study. Okay, for real now, I'll get started. So this shelf has been my poetry, and at one point it was poetry and nature shelf for a long time. I just keep all of my poetry books up here for poetry tea time, nursery rhymes, some joke books as well, the kids' poetry books that they're working on, some virtues and things like that. So I've got a ton of different poetry books up here, some silly, some fun, some very, you know, very much for kids, some that are a little bit more challenging, some we still have to grow into. And then on this side of the room, I have some devotionals as well, because we'll also grab those every now and then, and I just needed a different place in the house for those. So it's poetry and then some devotions down here at this end. This is my double stacked shelf. So this shelf is my historical section. So some historical fiction, a lot of historical nonfiction. If you know me, you know that I love assigning historical independent reading books. So most of my kids' assigned reading has to do with where we are in history. So this is where I'll pull a lot of stuff for the basket that I showed you down below. But also I just like to keep it all in the same place, because when we're doing, say, 5 in a row, some timelines might come up that we've studied before, but I might want to select a book off of this shelf, so forth and so on. So I know I could group it all together, like ancient times, medieval times, modern age, but I just feel like because I do so much history with the kids, we actually need these books to stay out. And I don't want to like put them in bins in our storage area because I might forget about them that way. So this is a shelf that I frequent. I'm at this shelf almost every day, like, oh, I have a book about that. So this one has some historical picture books, and then it has some independent readers, some assigned reading and stuff back there. I think Egypt is what's tucked back there because that's the one we haven't really hit too often recently, but I will go through and cycle them around just naturally, or I'll cycle them through naturally, but then I'll also intentionally go in at the beginning of a school year and kind of organize them again. But as you can see, I'm a big fan of the Dear America books, and then we've got some really neat other nonfiction books and some younger readers and things like that. So some picture books over down here. So we do love collecting, well, I love collecting historical fiction and nonfiction. So that is my shelf that really needs more than one shelf, but I like to keep it all together. All right, down here, this is a little break from the books. This is right at Annie's height. This is one of her little preschool shelves for the year, as well as just a few manipulatives for the kids, but it all sits on the same shelf. This one also gets frequented by any other preschoolers who are at our house, and my friends, like toddlers, little older toddlers. They love these little puzzles. They love these little tracing boards and things like that. I've also got a basket back here that has some of the arithmetic wheel and the manipulatives for that hundreds board. And then I also have that A is for art book because I'm using that in my kids' co-op this year. And so I pull that with this when we go to co-op together. Okay, here's the fun stuff. Down here, the shelf is one that my kids love. This has all of my Usborne Lift the Flat books, and you guys know I love those Lift the Flat books so much. So everything from, say, let's see, fractions and decimals and math shapes, the periodic table, to the simple like opposites, and My Busy Day, which is a preschool book, and First Math. So I have everything. Oh, there's atoms and molecules. So there's something on the shelf for my youngest to my oldest, and they really do love these books. I think they're so much fun, and I thought that they look really nice together all on their own shelf. And then down here we have more of a little preschool area as well. So these are my early reader books. So we have some Finger Trail ABC, adding just some very early books for kids to play with. So like the I Did It book, they can or the I Can Do It book. That one, you know, are just a bunch of things that they can do, like little fasteners. And then the Count to 100 book, the illustrated alphabet, so very, very early readers. And then over here we have the phonics library as well as the first reading library. So this is a shelf that I keep here for whenever my kids are learning how to read and just getting some reading confidence, as well as some of these Water Wonders books, which are just books for them to paint, and they like the colors show up and then they dry. And then the Wipe Clean books from Usborne, which are great as well. So this is a shelf that is just very, what's the word? It's just not very intimidating. That's the word. I could not think of it. So this shelf is just meant to be one that they can walk up, and there are books for them to play with if they're not old enough to read yet, or books to just gain some reading confidence. Like these are like the I Read, You Read books, and then these are the very beginning phonics readers. So this one is a low shelf so that the littlest kids can access it. All right. Moving on to this shelf, let me see if I can, now that I'm actually at this shelf, there we go. This is our little nature shelf. So I will link as much of this as I can remember to down below, because this is from, I think it's from Myris Toys online. I believe on Etsy. I do need to swap that over or have the kids do it because it's almost the wolf moon. I should pull this down now and put one of their new nature journaling pages up here, but I just love this one. It's really sweet. And then they keep some of their nature finds on here. We just try to add to it as we remember. Some of their Exploring Nature with Children projects from last year that I can probably go ahead and put in a keepsake bin now and put some of their new stuff out, but I don't know. I think it's still pretty to look at and we're not too used to it yet. So we have that going on there, and then this light just kind of keeps it highlighted. This light was Eli's little prop when he did his Thomas Edison history project last year. Down here we have some literature stuff. So all over this stuff over here is all of my 5 in a row, before 5 in a row, and all of my manuals. And then I have a cookbook here because this is like the Children's Around the World cookbook. That really I use often with 5 in a row. But then over on this side, we also have some complete Shakespeare, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens. There's Charles Dickens stuff. And then here's reference books for my kids. We've got dictionary, thesaurus, a scholastic dictionary, and an encyclopedia, things like that. So it's kind of like a little literature / reference shelf for them. And then down here, now this I do try to swap out often. Most recently I had all of the kids' Young, Wild, and Friedman dough kits in here, but I just after Christmas swapped that out and put the loom in here for that to be played with again. And sometimes I'll just swap games and just different STEM bins down there so that they just have something to go to in between doing some schoolwork. All right, while I'm down here, I'll just pop on over here. So this is just a random shelf of picture books that have no other place in our house. I probably said in the intro, but just in case. The kids have the books that they claim as their own in their room. So this is just kind of like a random collection of family picture books. Down here, this is a beginner's kind of science shelf. So we have the Shine a Light books. We've got some of the first questions and answers books, the little peek inside books. We have the look inside books, which are just a little bit bigger than the peek inside books. All of these are different lift the flap books. Again, I love those lift the flap books. And then we have the beginner's animal set down there, the beginner science set. These 100 Things to Know About books are awesome. And then just some other science reference books over there. And then up here, this one I consider to be more of like a nature shelf. So this one we have like some weather and astronomy stuff. Of course, I had to put Pocket Full of Pine Cones over there. Here's another beginner's set. Now this might be this is the beginner science set, but I thought it was more nature-y stuff. We've got Bug Hotel and Birdhouse, which are really pretty books. Some nature handbooks over here, pocket books, reference books, field guides. some Burgess books, which we are going to be getting to soon. I've got the Julie Rothman set here, Storybook of Science, just a ton of stuff that we reference often. And then this shelf is more so just chapter books or little, you know, funny books that the kids go back to regularly that aren't ready to be put in a room because everyone's still reading them, although they're not necessarily assigned readers like Dogman. They're just, you know, they're just books that they like to grab whenever they have a couple minutes to read something really quickly. They do all love these graphic novels right now. And then up here, these books are family read-alouds or assigned reading that I have on the agenda. I guess some that I would mostly not consider to put on that historical fiction shelf, but just some good books over here that I don't want to file away. I think it's funny, like Charlotte's Web, you know, it's sitting out here and I would definitely have forgotten about it, but you know, Eli hasn't read Charlotte's Web yet, so I definitely don't want to put things away because I do forget often, and every now and then I'll just come through and I just call it shopping my shelves, and I'll just come through and make some reading plans based on what my kids have and haven't read, and just be really intentional about looking through every book and considering, has this child read this book? Like, I know I've seen this book for years, but has Eli read it or has Jesse read it? So that's what's going on over here on these shelves. I did also want to mention that we have a big tote bin on the other side of our schoolroom here, and this is where we keep all of the activity books that we have, because I don't really want to put them on a shelf, and that way they can just come over and grab an activity book. Some of them they have their names written inside of, like these astronomy, like the Night Explorer, they're like nighttime nature journals, so they each have their own, but then some of them, like the maze books, let me see if I can find here. Here's like a maze book over here. That's not for one child specifically, so they'll just do a page or two. So I do keep these over here just so that they're kind of near the school table. They can just grab one and then just drop it back off in the bin. So there you have a little tour of our home library and how I store and organize our homeschooling books. Make sure you guys check out the playlist to see how everybody else is choosing to share on this topic of showing us your homeschool space. I'm excited to see everybody's homeschool spaces today on the playlist. And if you are interested in linking up with Jessica and I on this playlist, all the information is down in the description box down below. Bye guys.